I have this deep desire to make people feel seen and valuable.
You want to create a better version of them and you want them to understand the value inside of them.
If I had to choose if I want to be relevant or if I want to resonate, I'd rather want to resonate.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Bizzin Podcast. So the Bizzin app is about you as an entrepreneur and how you as a person can grow. I'm so excited to have our guest today with us, Elandri Foster. So Elandri, what excites me about this podcast is the excitement that you have inside of you. And so if we go into a little bit about your journey and Socially Shaped, just share a little bit more about what your business is about, what your passion is, and you as a person, who are you, what defines you?
Yeah, such an amazing privilege to be here, to spend the day with you and just explain a bit about what I do and why I love it. So I'm the founder of Socially Shaped. And we are a digital marketing agency that provides every possible service you can think about within the marketing umbrella. We love getting involved on a strategic level and help you think holistically about what your marketing strategy should be looking like. And then we also have the means to become involved in every aspect of that, whether that's social media, whether that's photography, videography, campaigns, emails, whatever it is your strategy consists of. Collaborations, we'd love to become a part of that. So that is what we do.
That's amazing.
It is.
And I mean, so a lot of that is obviously built on a presence factor, if you want to call it that, because it's what the public sees about you and about your business initially. So you as a woman, right, and as a business owner, how important is it for you then to present yourself as an image of this company and of somebody looking at you and saying like, wow, I understand what creating awareness is about?
Yeah. There was this incident last week where someone, they walked past me and they said, hey, Socially Shaped. So for some people, I actually became the brand.
Sure.
But I think that is the win. If you can create a brand that so accurately represents who you are as well, because you then very automatically represent your brand. It obviously comes with a responsibility because then you always represent your brand.
Exactly.
Whether you are in checkers or on stage, people expect the same thing.
100%.
But for me, it's an amazing privilege and obviously boils down to consistency. If you are consistent and honest with who you are and with what your brand represents, it's easy to represent that.
Sure. That's amazing. So maybe take us a little bit back and explain to us, how did you get to a point where you said, this is the type of business that I want to build?
Yeah. When I think about what I do and why I care so deeply about people being seen.
Yeah.
I trace it back to a single evening when I was a little girl. I had just been chosen as the head girl of my primary school.
Sure.
And I have to add, it was a very small school in a very small town. So in hindsight,
Don't be modest.
that moment carried no significance. But at that time, it was everything to me.
Sure.
My parents had been divorced at that time and my dad wasn't able to attend the evening.
Yeah.
And I remember afterwards begging my mom to take me to his house.
Sure.
And I remember it was dark and I was outside his bedroom window knocking to tell him that I'm good enough for him to show up. I'm worthy of his love.
Yeah.
And he never came to the window. And something shifted in me that night and then inevitably afterwards.
Yes.
To when people work with me, that they'll never experience that.
Yes.
That they'll never experience that they're knocking, but I'm not coming. I have this deep desire to make people feel seen and valuable, call out the gold they genuinely have in them, and send them away from me feeling worthy.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's the foundation of Socially Shaped. And I think I'd like to believe that that's why people love working with us.
Yeah.
When you genuinely value people, you also value what they find important.
Yeah. Correct.
And that even helps in business.
Yeah. Sure. That's profound. So do you think then at being end of grade 6, being selected as head girl, was that the turning point where you said, well, one day I want to create a digital marketing company? I'm presuming not really. Well, I mean, so that was part of the things that led you to this point where you understand purpose behind what you're doing and passion behind that. But during high school, for instance, I mean, what did you always think you're going to do after school?
Yeah, that is quite an interesting question. I actually believe that very few people know what they want to do when they're 18.
Correct.
And they're exposed to so little of what they can become.
Yeah.
So the only thing that profound moment did for me was reveal to me that I want to love people well.
Yeah.
And after I've matriculated, I obviously went to university. And I remember after explaining to one of them what I want to do, I can't even remember what I explained to them. But what they heard is that I need to plan weddings for a living.
Okay.
So I started marketing and tourism to become a wedding planner then in their perspective.
Yeah.
But it quite easily went into storytelling. A lot of what marketing is just telling stories in a way that people can really resonate with them.
Sure.
And I studied marketing and then went into becoming a marketer and founding Socially Shaped, which I not only wanted to add value for businesses, but for people as well. And I also have the privilege of doing that for employees.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Really, it sits differently.
And I think once you get that out of a person and you get that understanding and that value of that person out of them, if you can cultivate that in a person, that's truly the thing that becomes sustainable in a person's life. And it's not just that moment, because I think, you mentioned and you said, it's something that you want people always to remember, and you want to create a better version of them, and you want them to understand the value inside of them. And it's often where it can be like if you do a week project, that person feels good for a week, but after that they forget about it as well. And I think your heart is so much in it, like it must be sustained, it must be lifelong almost.
Yes.
And that's amazing to hear. And I love that you have such a passion for that. And I think so many people need that. So maybe take us into your marriage, right? So now, I mean, I know your husband, and he's a banker, and obviously, like, he's not as like in terms of like excited about everything. Like, he's excited, but obviously, like, he's a little bit laid back in terms of everything. So how do you guys get to a point where you actually become a unit and become something that the world looks at you and see like, wow, such a powerful marriage still, great parents in terms of raising their children? How do you guys fill each other in terms of that?
Yeah, that is such a powerful question. And I want to be honest about the fact that it did not come naturally.
Yeah.
We really had to decide for it to be the way it is today.
Yeah.
I'd even go as far as to say, even 2 years back, if someone asked me to rate our marriage out of 10, I'd say a solid 2, which is quite a far away from 10, where now I'd say a solid 9. Just because he played golf so much, it's not a 10.
Go on, Louis.
And I really have to credit Louis. If I had to choose a nephew for Jesus, I'd say it'd be someone like Louis, just because he's so solid in character with who he is. So it's very easy for him to encourage me to live my dreams relentlessly. And I think because of that, he set the tone for me to do exactly the same for him. So there's a very positive breathing ground for us, encouraging one another to find and live purpose. And obviously that boils over to the way we raise our kids. And a recent podcast I listened to of John C. Maxwell explained that the value is not legacy for people, but legacy in people.
Yes.
And we obviously get to do that for one another, for our spouses, and for our kids. They're watching.
Exactly. That's amazing. So where do you think you find the balance between being a business owner and then between submitting to your husband and then being a wife to your children? I mean, because obviously, like for me as an entrepreneur, it's the foundation, but obviously God is the foundation. My wife is my support in that. The children is. So I have a bit of business in every single factor, but it's important still to have a division in like, this is time for family, this is time for business. So do you have a balance like that, or do you sometimes struggle to get that?
I'd love for someone to teach me the balance. I sometimes feel that like that's my purpose in life, finding this balance and then sticking to it. It's really difficult for me to live a balanced life. Because of the way I love adding value, it's difficult for me to do that within boundaries.
Understand.
I'd highly unlikely say no to when someone asks me to help, but that means I said no to something else because I said yes to whatever it is. Currently, we really try to set out the time between we make supper and put them to bed for genuine family time. So possibly our current strategy is both surviving and thriving. But using time as quality and not as quantity. The time we have is genuinely set apart. Currently, for me, it works very well when they're asleep to go back to work. When the world is quiet, it helps me to be very creative when no one calls. But that's just what works for us in the season. And it is so seasonal. Our season requires me to be available in the afternoons. I love that I'm the first person that Laura sees when she gets out of school, and I want that. For me, currently, that means putting my laptop on again at 9 p.m.
Yes, exactly.
But I choose that.
Yes. Yeah. And that's amazing. And so maybe if I can ask you this, right? You guys are leaders in church. And so you walk a close relationship with God as well. And now being in the digital marketing space, it does challenge one a little bit in terms of what's being created and what's a trend in modern days, and what finds the attraction. Because I know people, they need that 1 or 2 seconds, then they need to be hooked in terms of what they see on social media and what they see on the internet. So how do you make sure that you can still stay relative, but make sure that the foundation behind that still stays strong?
Because I think relevance is a thing. It might be a bit overrated. If I had to choose if I want to be relevant or if I want to resonate, I'd rather want to resonate. And obviously you have a target audience with whom you want to communicate in a specific way. I do believe that every good idea comes from the divine mind of the Father. So I really just do trust Jesus to lead me in that. I seldomly feel challenged about what the world creates, but I think because that's not my reference. My creative source is not what's being created, but it's being what's said to me about what to create. So that helps. I do think a challenge might be contentment with social media. Just because you're so bewust. What is bewust? Aware. Because you're so aware of everything. I think a bigger challenge is contentment in our age.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, let's put all of this together, right? You shared about how you grew up a little bit. You shared about your husband, about your faith, about your business. So taking all of this together, what would you say the definition of success is for you?
If I had one sentence, I'd love for someone else to write it. Usually you're dead and someone else needs to decide what's your one sentence. I think it's called to love people well. And that it's possible to do that in business and in families. It can happen in both in one lifetime.
That's amazing. And so I think what's important to love well is to be loved as well. So important, like in terms of that, what would you say, how important is it for you to have people around you that support you in your dream, that support you in your day-to-day, that supports you in church, that really just supports that, because you're giving a lot. And if I'm hearing what you're saying, like if you look at church, you're giving out in leadership, you look at business, you want to add value, you constantly look, how can you improve somebody else's life? You give to your husband, you give to your children. So somewhere you need to be filled as well, right? In order for you to stay this excited. How does that look for you?
How do you stay this excited? Red Bull. No. I just want
Red Bull
to say
is not being advertised. Disclaimer.
I don't get paid for this ad. Desi, you're doing a great job just with summarizing what I'm putting on the table. I think, first of all, it has to do with identity. If I'm very sure about God says who I am, it eliminates me from needing people a lot. But I do believe that we really do need people.
Yeah.
I call them stretcher bearers. And those are the ones that carry you through the roof to Jesus when you're not able to go there yourself.
Yeah.
So I deeply value the people who will carry my stretcher.
Yeah.
I do need them.
Yeah.
They definitely add to my energy, but it comes natural for me to be a cheerleader for people.
Yeah, amazing. Elandri, thank you so much for being here. I look so forward to hearing a little bit more of your expertise in our next podcast. And guys, thanks for joining us on this Bizzin Podcast. Looking forward to our next episode.